Hi there, and welcome to the Callosum interview series, Beyond Revenue, Bringing Purpose to Brand. This is where conversations grounded in purpose give insights to the outdoor industry. Thanks for joining us today. So good morning. This is Beyond Revenue. I'm Claire from Callosum. We are a purpose-driven branding agency in the outdoor space. And today I have Peter Arlein. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You nailed it.
I nailed it. Fantastic. Great. Awesome. Joining me today. And so before I introduce Peter here, I want to give our audience just a framing of some context as what purpose-driven branding is, so that you understand where Peter is coming from and why we have asked him to join us today. So purpose-driven companies go beyond the role of offering a service and a product to develop programs that have a social or environmental impact. So social entrepreneurship brings more meaning to what businesses do, and it's an opportunity to explore making a difference in our society and in one's career. So Peter is the founder CEO. Is that an official term for you? I've never heard you use an official term.
Yeah.
Of mountainFLOW, based out of Carbondale. He comes from New York and moved to Colorado after college. Probably came for the winter, stayed for the summer scenario.
Classic story.
Yeah. Has worked in the outdoor industry for 20 years and recognized that there was an opportunity to create high performance, sustainable accessories for ski and bike. Specifically, mountainFLOW makes plant-based, non-petroleum ski wax and bike lube, and a lot more. You have a lot more than that. So I defined what purpose is for Callosum. How do you define purpose?
For us, as much as we are a sustainable products company, we lead with performance. And I think for us, our purpose is to build the credibility of the sustainable products industry by showing that we can make products that work just as well as everything out there, while also having a smaller carbon footprint, making something that's biodegradable, non-toxic. And I don't want to say good for the earth, because, like no product is the best thing for the earth. But just showing that we can do both performance and sustainability.
I think it's the yes and scenario.
Exactly.
Rather than the people, yes. And I so love that in general, folks, that you often hear you can't have it all. I'm like, well, you can. It might not be perfect. It's progress. And to speak into and allow yourself to share, we're making progress. It's better. It's better than the previous option. And I pulled somewhere in my research, you said, I think it was one of your marketing videos. You said people are ready for a change. A choice in ski wax. Like before, there just really wasn't a choice, right? It's all petroleum.
100%. Everything on the shelf is petroleum, and there's different brands out there, and some people like this brand over another brand. But yeah, it was all petroleum, so there wasn't a sustainable choice out there.
And so, tell me a little bit about how the business was ideated and the inception point of it.
Yeah, so like you said, I've worked in the outdoor industry in various capacities for years. Since I was 14, I think I started as a ski instructor in Western Massachusetts.
Nice.
And just kind of worked my way up. I've done just about everything. And a lot of that time was spent as a ski tech. So waxing skis in a small cramped back room. And then at one point I started thinking, hey, like, what is wax made of? It's like, oh, it's made of wax. It's like, what's plastic made of? Plastic. It's like, well, wait, that's not like a mineral, it doesn't grow on a tree. Like, what is it made of? How do you get it? And I learned that it's just like plastic. Wax is all petroleum based. So most of the candles out there are petroleum based. And most of the ski wax is petroleum based. And it's actually kind of interesting where the wax comes from. So you have a barrel of oil, and then you distill everything from that barrel. So gasoline, diesel, mineral oil, motor oil, like it all kind of is in there, and you can extract those, get all the liquid out. And what you're left with is a little bit of waxy sludge at the bottom. and it's black and gray. And that's what waxes, whether it's your candles or your ski wax. And they bleach it and make it look nice and put perfume in there. But that's what it comes from. It's like the leftover sludge from a barrel of oil, which
That's
I didn't
romantic.
know.
Sludge
Yeah,
candle.
I'm like, why are we burning this in our house? This is gross.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Why are we putting it into the environment through our skis, right? And so that was the impetus for me to get started. And it was a long testing process.
200 versions I read.
200 versions. And that was the first iteration. And we did a second iteration, which was fewer versions. I learned a little bit after the first go around.
Yeah, did you
eventually
have, any interest or any background in that? How do you even go about beginning to test a version, a sample? I think product sampling or prototyping.
I had a background in science, like my major in undergrad was in the sciences. And so I understood like the scientific method, kind of how to test stuff efficiently and isolate one variable that you're testing and then move on from there. But ultimately, I just put the product on skis and got on snow, because that's how our customers are going to evaluate the product, right? They're not going to take the wax into a lab and see what the readings are. They're going to put it on their skis. And if it's fast and smooth, it's a good product and they're going to like it. And so I tested it like our customers were. And that kind of helped us wiggle our way towards a product that worked really well.
And how long was it before you had your first product packaged and available at retail or available for purchase? And that's another question, is what are your channels?
It was about 2 years of testing and iterating and then manufacturing before we had something that was retail ready.
And was your initial attempt specifically around ski wax? Like, I now know you have half a dozen products. How did you move from singular into many?
Some of it was like, okay, to be a wax company, we need X number of products, right? You need a product for every snow condition. You need an easy to apply product. You need a high-end product. And so we knew that we were going to need, maybe 20 SKUs just to really establish ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it's listening to the market and hearing what people are looking for. Like, hey, I love your products. I wish they came in a kit with 4 of them together and maybe an iron and this and that. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And so we would just kind of listen to the feedback and try stuff. And it's amazing, like some stuff, as soon as it hits the market, boom, takes off, right? Like almost no marketing effort. And some stuff we would put on the market and just throw money at and it would never take off. Mm-hmm. And so we just kind of learned what works, what doesn't work as well, and just try to do more of what was working.
Okay. And how did you, so you say you lead with performance, and by the way, you're plant-based because you don't want this yucky petroleum out there. How, did you want that from the onset, that it was, that you were going to lead with sustainability, or did that come along the way as you tried to find a better, healthier product or material?
Yeah, so when we started, I was talking about the sustainability benefit first and foremost. And I was like, this is what sets us apart. It's unique. This is what people want. And then I talked to an industry insider who was like, yes, like people do, they say they want a sustainable product, but really what they actually want is something that works as well, right? They want to have everything. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you got to lead with performance and then tell them, by the way, it's plant-based.
Okay.
And so that was kind of eye-opening.
Okay. So if they're comparing to awesome performance products, then secondarily, they look at the second piece of what's in this. Do we align? Exactly. Like things of, do I align with the brand? Do I align with the values? So I always think your product and service has to be competitive, has to be really dialed. But it's like looking at a resume. If it says exactly the same thing, but then you talk to the human being, you're going to choose one over the other. Is that exactly how you think about it? Of your performance is at top notch, and then there's more, and that has them come to you.
Yeah, that's that's how we tell our story. And, we've been fortunate enough to find packaging that's able to kind of tell that sustainability story without us using words. So we can hammer the performance with what text we put on our products. And then as soon as they look at it, it comes in a cardboard box instead of a plastic
Oh,
clamshell.
right.
They go, oh yeah, that looks really green.
It tells a story. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of tell me about, so I know you've also moved into bike. So your bamboo kit
Yes.
appeals to me. I'm a mountain biker also. And was that a request from your consumers, your buyers?
That was not. So that was a learning that we had in the ski side of things. We started to kit our products together and they just sold like crazy. And people were more willing to buy $100 kit than they were to buy, one bar of wax. I think something about the kit, everything's in there. They don't have to make the decision. It's kind of done for them.
Yeah.
We're like, we should replicate that on the bike side. And so we put together these bike maintenance kits that are made from bamboo. And we just launched them this spring, and same story. They've become our best seller.
I really like it because it shows me I have a bucket, and I have one in my garage and a tub in my car. So whether I'm traveling with the bike or at home, when I get home, the hose is there and everything is ready. It hooks onto the tub scenario. But I love that it is self-contained, can come with you on your BLM camping trips, and is ready to go. And tell me about I recall your plastic bottles are different. What's different about your plastic bottles?
Yeah, so there's actually two interesting bottle stories. First is the bottles that we use for the lube itself, and they're made from 100% post-consumer recycled plastic. So they look ostensibly like a normal plastic bottle, but they're made with recycled plastic instead of virgin plastic. And you would think like, this is a no-brainer, right? It feels like a normal bottle, but you've got a way better sustainability story. Should be available all over the place. Every time we get those bottles, it's a custom run because there's so few people asking for that they have to make it custom for us. I can get a regular plastic bottle whenever I want, ship it the next day. But it's 6 to 8 weeks, up to 6 months during the pandemic to get these post-consumer recycled plastic bottles. So kind of eye-opening just where the industry's at.
Why is not everyone doing that? Well, and I'm sure there's a price difference.
It is a little bit more expensive, but I mean, we're talking about pennies, right? It's 7 cents instead of 6 cents.
Okay. So it's
and
not
it
as
adds
big as
up.
one might assume. I would assume that it was significantly more.
No, it's really not. And you wonder why every bottle that you buy in the store is not made with this recycled plastic.
I was just watching a friend of mine just visited our local dump and took a tour with her team. She owns a restaurant bar, and she shared through her Instagram stories things to know on what actually goes in the dump and where do we take our garbage from and compost, and was basically saying number 2 is the only one that's really recyclable. And just from watching a little bit, like, everyone should take a tour of the dump.
Yeah. It's so difficult. Like, how are consumers supposed to know in their particular town? There's no cut and dry. I can recycle this, I can't recycle that.
Right. She was sharing that we have, I'm going to say 100, I don't know what the measurement is, 100 containers. And we have exponentially amount of space in Eagle County that soon we will actually, Pitkin County is almost out of dump space, and we will begin taking the trash of Pitkin County and Eagle County.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just keeps stacking up.
Well, and this is like a different little rabbit hole, but it's so fascinating of how can you really pay attention and reduce. So I think that it's challenging to me, is like, why are not more businesses using the bottle type that you are doing? And I have seen some models where that could be a sidearm of your business where you just sell those bottles, irrelevant of your existing product. And I've seen like entrepreneurs raise revenue through doing something like that to help fuel then their own central business.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because we have just launched our own water bottle company. So not a lube bottle, but we make plant-based bike water bottles. And so they look just like a normal bottle that you'd put in the cage of your mountain bike, but they're made primarily with corn. And so that's become another hot product. And
Oh,
we
I've never heard
do
of it.
mostly private label. Yeah. We're the only people who offer it. And we work with bike shops and bike brands and marketing agencies, you name it. People want to put their logo on these bottles and hand them out at conferences or sell them with a new bike.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just
But I
kind of
need
a
to come
cool
take
new
a
thing.
tour of your facility to see all these new great things. You're not too far away
Yes.
from. Speaking of, you have quite a list of partners: POW, High Fives, Winter Wildlands Alliance, American Avalanche Institute, who are also a B Corp. Tell me about your desire, or how you came to create partnerships, and what type of certifications you sought and why.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the certifications. The B Corp, B Lab program has always been super intriguing. And so we started to look into it, and it turns out that a lot of the stuff that we were doing kind of already qualified us to become a B certified company. We didn't have to change our processes, which was great. It was nice to know that we were kind of moving along in the right direction. And then also going through the process, like there's so many things that we're not doing that I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. We should definitely do that. Like I got 0 points on that metric this time, but when we restart, hopefully we'll be able to get points. So stoked to be a part of that organization. And then in terms of the partnerships, we reach out to people who we really support the work that they're doing. And a lot of what we're doing with those people is actually making private labeled products for them. So we make a full line of ski wax for POW. We make a full line of ski wax for Winter Wildlands. And so they're able to sell that product through their website and bring in some revenue, which is more than probably we could afford to donate to them. And it aligns the brands in a really interesting way.
That is a really neat idea. That's wonderful. I haven't heard that recently. That's a great one. Tell me about, you mentioned a couple things that you've seen in the industry. What do you think are some pivotal, it's not a word, pivotal moments in your now 30 years of experience in the industry?
Certainly the move towards sustainability is huge. That's probably the hottest thing in the outdoor industry, and it has been for the last 5, maybe even 10 years, right? You look at every major ski resort in the country, whether it's Vail or Aspen Snowmass, and they all have some sort of sustainability pledge and promise. I think Vail has the Epic Promise, which is net zero by 2030, which is just around the corner, right? That's a huge corporation. They've got a lot of work to do, but everybody is moving in that direction, all the way, from the corporations all the way down to the product level. And so it's just cool to see people moving in that direction. The outdoor industry is, as much as we want it to be green, it's not necessarily, right? We're flying to go skiing. We're running lifts on some sort of power source, massive buildings and heating and cooling and everything that goes into running a large organization like that. And so I think all of these little steps towards whether it's climate neutral or net zero make a huge difference.
Great. Wonderful. And how about you personally, some of those micro moments that stand out in your career?
Taking the leap to start the business was a huge one. It was a side hustle for a while. I had a full-time job and grew it to the point where I felt comfortable going full-time and leaving.
How long did that take?
3 years as a side hustle. And it's scary leaving that regular paycheck and going out on your own. And you got to,
right?
You only get paid if you make money. Yeah. It's the best thing I've done. So I'm stoked that I took the leap, but it was nerve-wracking for sure.
How big is your team now?
There's 4 of us full-time. And then we've got a handful of contractors and a sales force as well. Okay.
And what are your sales channels? You've mentioned a couple in passing, but let's put them all together.
All of them. All of them.
You do them all, really? Did you start? What was the initial design? Your first?
I think we started selling through our website, direct to consumer. Then we brought on wholesale with local ski shops and REI, Evo, backcountry, folks like that. We moved into Amazon, which has been a great channel for us.
That's a challenge from what I've heard. That's a whole college class on how to operate on Amazon and off.
Oh yeah, it's a beast. It was a steep learning curve. The things that you think would be simple, changing the product title, can take weeks, months to get done. We've since outsourced that to an Amazon sales agency who really focuses on that channel.
Great.
Yeah, which has been great. And then we have distribution as well. So we're in about 20 international markets.
I was asked, I saw Aussie Skier website, and I'm like, oh, are you international? Did you say 20? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's larger than I was able to dig up. You've also got quite a list of awards, from Best of Outdoor Retailer, Best New Gear Institute, Gear of the Show from Outside, Outdoor Retailer Innovation. What was the innovation one?
So most of those were when we debuted our plant-based ski wax in the 2020 Outdoor Retailer Show. So that was January 2020. We won all these awards. We were like really taking off. And then a month later, essentially, early March, the world shut down.
Right.
Ski resorts shut down. And so it was like, whoa, we had all this momentum, and now nobody
talk about letting the air out of the balloon.
Industry. Crazy. And it goes downhill. And then all of a sudden, the outdoor industry goes bananas during COVID, and then it shoots back up. And now we're kind of at that lull on the other side, where these big retailers are sitting on way too much product that they overbought during the pandemic. And so everyone's kind of working through that.
Still trying to level out.
Get back to normal.
Okay. I also noticed that you were on Shark Tank. Was that just before?
Shark Tank
2020
was 2021.
2021. Okay. And I know, so, you know, obviously in my research, I know you were given an offer, but then trying to look at the behind the scenes, I'm guessing, but tell me, is this public knowledge? Are you allowed to share with us? I mean, that's a pretty big deal to get a deal, but things happen, right?
Yeah. So, you know, behind the scenes, the deal ended up falling through, which my understanding is happens fairly often. You kind of make a gentleman's agreement on the show, and then you dig into the numbers, you get the lawyers involved to figure out the deal terms. And there's just a lot that goes into a deal like that.
I mean, it's not no chump change.
Yeah, it's real money, and you know, you agree to it in a 30-minute, 45-minute conversation, right? So there's just a lot of due diligence to do after the fact.
Sure. Okay. Got it. I mean, but that is a great name dropper to have gotten there, to have, you know, had that. And so what are some of your other, I also know that you have a team, according to your website, you have a team of 13 ambassadors, athletes. Tell me how you decided to, that's kind of also another sales channel, is ambassadors. How did you go about deciding to create a team of athletes or ambassadors?
Yeah, we were kind of looking at how can we get the word out there as quickly as possible in an authentic manner. And so finding pro athletes in the various disciplines that we work in is a great way to showcase the brand. And it's coming from somebody who's not, like, you can only push so much messaging as a brand before people are like, okay, we get it, you know, like, stop pushing on us. But if you have like your favorite athletes say, look, I started working with this company and I love the performance, I love what this company stands for, you guys should check it out. That goes a long way. And in addition to just getting the word out, these ambassadors are the best in their sports. And so they give us great feedback on the product. Hey, you should tweak this. I think, you know, I'd love to see this feature added to the product. So they get everything a year before it comes out. And then we take that feedback and are able to make the adjustments.
Okay, great. So they're product testers as well. Okay, great. What else am I missing? So tell me about what's your biggest challenge today in the business?
Education. We spend a ton of time on education, getting the word out there, whether it's to our customers or to our retailers, so they learn about the value proposition behind our products, what makes them unique, and why people should give them a try.
Okay, so internal education and then pushing it out to your customers.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that a challenge?
Because we only have so big of a megaphone, right? It's hard to get out there and talk.
Okay. I thought you were going to say time internally, like a team of 4 pushes it to the sales team, pushes it to packaging. Is it a capacity issue?
Yeah, I mean, if we had a sales force of 100 people and they're out there talking to shops every day, we're going to get the word out there a lot faster. So certainly more people would help it get out there faster. Yesterday, for example, I did a little roadshow on the Western Slope, went down to Grand Junction and Fruita and visited a bunch of our retail partners.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a whole day, and I maybe went into 10 shops.
Right.
So how do you scale that? And that's kind of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Not the issue, that's what we're working on improving, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Great. And how about what's your greatest joy?
I love getting product into people's hands and to see kind of the aha moment when they try it and go, whoa, like this actually works. But everyone thinks it doesn't work. It's like health food that tastes good in the 90s. Now it's like health food's delicious, right? But back then, like if it was healthy, it was disgusting. And that's kind of like where people's heads are with sustainable products. Like if this is good for the environment, it can't work as well. But I mean, look at all the technology that we have at our fingertips right now. There's no reason that a product can't be high performance and sustainable. And so winning people over, not through our marketing, just through them trying the products. Is
I mean,
really
that's behavior change, human behavior change. And what do you do to create an environment where they are willing to try it?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. And so this is one of my favorite questions. You personally, who are you becoming? So let's say, you're the leader of this organization. It was your idea in the beginning. So rather than looking back, let's now go forward and say, and I'm not talking necessarily the organization, who are you becoming as a thought leader, as a founder? What are you dreaming up? And what would you like to be doing in the next decade?
I would like to be, I guess, walking the walk more in terms of the work-life balance that we all strive for, living in the mountains, working in the outdoor industry. We could all pack up shop and move to Wall Street and get a job and make plenty of money. But the reason that we live here in Carbondale or in Vail is because we love the outdoors. And so just making time to enjoy that. Our motto as a company is find your flow. And for us, that's getting outside and doing outdoor activities. And I need to do a better job of making time to get outside myself, and then also creating space for the team to get outside, whether it's individually or as a team, so that we don't lose focus of why we're here.
Absolutely. And you have a family as well, so you're juggling multiples. Yes, I am I don't know if I invented the word or not, but I use the term plork a lot, which is the combination of play and work. And I also, in 2020, right at the onset of COVID, studied flow state with Stephen Kotler and the Flow Research Collective. So I learned the importance and utilizing my outdoor sports to create focus through flow state. And so it's like, this isn't just me getting a workout in. It's really beneficial to the business to get out into nature. Yes, I mean, for me, my purpose is about healing and inspiration. And I discovered flow through my sport of ski and bike. But it's a great tool as a business owner to try and make the most of your time. I can relate to in terms of being the founder, and then you still also have to do the work. So how do you divide your week between doing and leading, or do you?
I'm not that good at that. I get sucked into whatever work of the day has to be done. But I try to block out time on my calendar and then leave it. Like
Mhm.
create space and then don't mess with it. Even if something comes up, like learn to say no and make sure that I'm getting outside or going for a walk or spending extra time with the family, whatever's important.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get sucked into the whirlwind and then all of a sudden it's dark out and you've been hammering away at your computer all day.
Absolutely. It's like stand up right now. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Awesome. Great. Well, let's so I'm going to wrap it up with what I call rapid fire questions. So Peter doesn't know these, but there's some of my favorites. One was, speaking of, what was your last outdoor adventure?
I went for a bike ride over the weekend.
Awesome. Awesome. In Picking County.
Yes, in Redstone.
Oh, beautiful. Very
Yeah,
nice. It makes me think of shade and cool waters.
it's very nice. Yeah, it was beautiful up there.
Great. And how about top of mind nonprofit?
I would say B Lab, because we are working with them right now on a collaborative project for our water bottles.
Wonderful. I like to point out, and you said it perfectly, is that even if you don't get all the way to certification, becoming a B Corp, there are so many pieces that you can learn. I learned about living wage, so many pieces that you can learn and integrate and improve your organization without necessarily having to make it. And so it's a continual iteration. I want to encourage folks to start, and then because you can't necessarily control how long. I'm glad to know that you are already doing a lot of stuff. And finally, are you a podcast listener or a business book reader? And if so, do you have a favorite?
Yes to both. Right now, I'm reading Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Good one.
And I've actually already listened to it on Audible, but needed to go back and read it so that I could like fully digest the stuff that he says. And it's awesome.
I love it. We are like-minded. I do that. I listen first, and then I'm like, this is a hardcover. It's time to buy it. Because I try to be much a minimalist. I try not to buy things, but there are resource business books that are good to have on hand. And there's something about that hard book, right?
Yeah.
Great. And so to wrap it up, how can our audience find you?
So we are online at mountainflow.com or on Instagram at mountainflowecowax. And we're even on Threads. So if your listeners are up on the latest social media channels, they can find us on Threads, which has kind of been a fun adventure.
That's a new one. Great. Yeah. Yes, I have not dipped my toe into that. I'm a wait and see kind of gal at the moment, but I'm going to go look at it and see what you're doing. Great. Well, it's nice to catch up with you, Peter. It's been a bit, and I always like to follow along the airwaves and see what the next product is that's coming rolled out. And we didn't even talk about your ski poles. Want to give a quick plug to your ski poles? But ski season is right around the corner.
It is right around the corner. We've launched the industry's first and only recycled aluminum ski poles. We've got retail poles, rental poles, and then we are launching a touring pole this fall. So check it out.
Is the touring pole collapsible?
Yes.
Ooh, I'm interested in that one. Very cool. Awesome. Cool. Well, congratulations. It is really neat to see and hear a little bit of behind the scenes. You're kicking ass. Keep doing it. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us for today's conversation of Beyond Revenue, Bringing Purpose to Brand. We hope to see you again in future episodes. And in the meantime, please be in touch with us on all the usual marketing channels. You can find us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and of course on our website at gocallosum.com. We sure hope you got outside today.